One of the reasons why Pokemon is such an incredibly successful franchise is because there is something for everybody. Everywhere you look, Pokemon could probably be there adapting to whatever product you find. We can find Pokemon in anime form for those who prefer watching a series, in manga form for those who enjoy reading, in a trading card game for those who love a good TCG session like myself, and of course in the main series of Pokemon games, the one that drives it all. But you can also find them on spin-offs, and those, well, those can get quite crazy. So hey, I'm not so a strainer, and what about Pokemon spin-offs? Let's get into it. Pokemon spin-offs have been around for almost as long as there have been Pokemon games, with it all starting way back in 1998 with the Japanese release of Pokemon Stadium. This was the first game of 3 of the Pokemon Stadium series, even though the West would only see the release of 2 of them. One in 1999 and the other one in 2000. These games bring you the pure experience of Pokemon battling and tournaments by removing the RPG exploration aspect of Pokemon, with some fun mini-games into the mix. They also let you connect your main series games to it and use your team. Needless to say, they were an instant hit, and to this day people ask for a sequel. While a spiritual successor was released in 2006 for the Wii, called Pokemon Battle Revolution, the reception was far from what it was when the actual Stadium games were released. This was due to the lack of features that people expected, such as tournament mode in online play, for example. Nowadays, the Stadium games can be enjoyed as part of the Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack, though there is no way of transferring your own Pokemon into the game. Those were what we could call safe spin-offs, since they still have one of the core parts of Pokemon, the battles. And that was the case for another set of Pokemon spin-offs that had more than just that, and well, let's just say that to this day they are really loved. I'm talking of course about Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. These games are only Pokemon spin-offs because they were on the Nintendo GameCube and made by another company, because they took the whole essence of a Pokemon game and completely reinvented it years before Game Freak did it. Yeah, the pacing is slow sometimes, but they brought a completely different vibe to the franchise with a more edgy story and characters as well as really tough battles. Sadly, we'll likely never see another one of these, and maybe not even a port or a remaster of these games. But hey, things are changing, right? So maybe it is possible, but it likely won't be. Still, these games were safe bets. They continue to walk a line very close to Pokemon games, to the main series of Pokemon games, but while that was happening, things were already going pretty off the rails in the background, or on the rails actually. That's because we had Pokemon Snap released for the N64 in 1999, a game about, well, on the rails exploring and taking pictures of Pokemon. This game was very well received, and I think anyone that was alive at that time probably had some kind of experience with it. And in 2021, when they revealed new Pokemon Snap, the sequel of that old 1999 game, there was a lot of hype with fans of the first one talking pretty highly of the beautiful looking game we received. This is nothing though, we're still kinda catching Pokemon just with our cameras. But now imagine that you wanted to interact more with a Pokemon, or better yet, you wanted to become a Pokemon. Well, there's something for you as well. Hey You Pikachu, a game released in 1998 for the N64, didn't have you becoming the Pokemon, but it was the beginning of it all. This game had you talking to your friend Pikachu, commanding it through its daily tasks. It could recognize over 200 words and played on the whole having your own pet Pikachu thing and taking control of it in a different way from the main series. This would be done multiple times in the future in what some people call the Pikachu series, mixing it with the Poképark series as well, with games like Pokemon Channel making you watch TV and Poképark 1 and 2 taking you on your very own Pikachu adventure. But the true becoming the Pokemon experience is without a doubt the Mystery Dungeon series, where you literally become a Pokemon after answering a bunch of questions and go through a roguelike adventure as you uncover the mysteries of whatever world you find yourself in. From its characters to its plot and to its music, it has some of the most beloved games in all of the franchise and is also the longest running spin-off series with 11 total titles going from the Game Boy Advance all the way to the Nintendo Switch. Another spin-off series that was pretty popular was the Pokemon Ranger series, where you played the part of a Pokemon Ranger that befriended Pokemon by abusing your lower DS screen as much as you could. I know many people that would love to see another one of these, and with its presence on the Wii U Virtual Console, we know that there was at least an effort to extend the series' lifetime. But if we ever get one, I am pretty sure it would be a mobile game, and I don't know if people would love that. But now we get to the less conventional ones. We say goodbye to the more traditional Pokemon formula and look at everything we can put the Pokemon name in. And this is where we find puzzle games like Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, Puzzle League, Pokemon Shuffle, and many others, where we find Pokemon Trozei and Battle Trozei. Do you enjoy playing pinball? Well, you'll probably love Pokemon Pinball and Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire. What's that? You like racing? Well, maybe Pokemon Dash is the right game for you. I'm just kidding, Pokemon Dash wasn't the right game for anybody. But maybe you enjoy rumbling, maybe you enjoy a battle royale. Well, then the Pokemon Rumble series is the one for you. Fan of mysteries? Well, you have Detective Pikachu for the 3DS and its less cool cousin, Detective Pikachu Returns for the Switch. A fan of art, I see. Well, then Pokemon Art Academy is likely the one you're looking for. Or maybe you spent a long time addicted to both League of Legends and Pokemon, and so Pokemon Unite caught your attention, as it did to a lot of other people when it was released, despite being released way after the very high popularity of MOBAs. But maybe none of that was right for you. You're kind of a fighter, you want violence, you want to be the one performing Pokemon violence yourself. Maybe then you'll find your niche is actually Pokken Tournament, a fighting game that had everything to succeed had them actually updated it with DLC as many other fighting games do. But maybe, just maybe, you're looking for something with a kind of a tactical approach to it. Well, if that's the case, there's still something for you, and that's the much loved actually Pokemon Conquest. This was a crossover game between Pokemon and Nobunaga's Ambition that was decently well received and even had a manga being released based on the game. You had a battlefield where you could move your Pokemon around and attack with various different kinds of power-ups, something that would deepen the gameplay. Battles were turn-based with various victory conditions. Really wish we could see another take on this concept, as I feel it would work very well on the Switch. It cannot all be fun and games though, and Pokemon had a lot of, well, educational games. And these two things mixed very well when teaching people how to play the TCG. Since we had Pokemon trading card games on the Game Boy Color, we had Play It and Play It 2 on the PC, and more recently we also had, on the PC as well, Pokemon Trading Card Game Online and Pokemon TCG Live. But that's not all though. If you want to start an empire, you have to make sure it is future-proof, and the only way to do that is to reach kids from the youngest age possible. And that's what they did. The Nintendo DS had games like Learn with Pokemon, Typing Adventure, where you learned how to type in a DS-compatible keyboard. But that's not the only platform they explored. In the PC, you had games like the browser-based games Learning with Pokemon that taught different subjects like math and science, or Pokemon PC Master, exclusive to Japan, that taught kids how to use PC. But that's not all as well, since they released a huge amount of Sega Pico and Advanced Pico Bina games from 2002 all the way to 2010 that aimed to help kids with learning all kinds of things ranging from Japanese to the numbers. And now we're already off the typical Nintendo platform. We've talked about PC games and the Sega Pico, so why not continue in unfamiliar territory? That's because there are more PC games mostly tied to the anime or tied to movies. These are mostly flash games with simple mini-games attached, like Pokemon Team Rocket Blast Off, where you can catch Pokemon falling from Team Rocket's balloon, or Pokemon Seek and Find, an interactive game where you try to find Pokemon and characters, for example. But there's one, Pokemon 2000 Adventure, which is a tie-in to Pokemon 2000 the movie, that was only available for a very limited time due to some disputes, though it was recently revived by fans. It's only around 10 minutes of gameplay time, but in an age where lost media becomes such a big thing, it's nice seeing something like that being preserved. And now, another thing we used to only have on the PC was social media, and one of those is Facebook, where Pokemon released two games exclusively. Pokemon Medallion and Pokemon Tower Battle are two multiplayer games that you could only play on Facebook, though looking at their pages, they kinda seem to be a bit inactive as of late. And by that I mean, Pokemon Medallion, the game where you try to build a team and fight 6 to 6, hadn't posted since April 2023 when I was writing the script. And now that I'm editing it, it has posted, but to announce that the service will end by February 29th. And I can even find the page for Pokemon Tower Battle, which was kind of a tower puzzle-like game but with Pokemon. So even Zuckerberg got its hands on some of that Pokemon Spin Off magic. Well, in today's age, it's all about mobile gaming. Pokemon took that by absolute storm, creating new games and even doubling down in older ones like Pokemon Rumble Rush, which was super fun and I was very sad to see go down. We all know about Pokemon Go, the game released in 2016 that put the whole world in Pikachu's hands and reminded us all of what an unstoppable force Pokemon can be until bad decisions are made. And this wasn't the first AR game Pokemon ever did, of course, as we previously had games like Dream Radar back in the 3DS days. But there were games like Pokémon Duel, a virtual trading figure inspired game based on an actual Pokémon trading figure game that exists. Pokémon Magikarp Jump, a game that has a way to be very addictive, especially if you are the toilet gaming kind of person. And one of their best mobile spin-offs, also on the Nintendo Switch, Pokémon Quest, a game where Pokémon are blocked and you go on expeditions and cook to get new friends. We only have Gen 1 in the West, but China has basically everything at this point, and I think we deserve an update. Pokémon Masters EX continues to have a huge following with its more gacha-like take on the franchise, and Pokémon Cafe Remix is still alive somehow with its cute mobile puzzle take. And who can forget Pokémon Sleep, the sleep monitoring game that seemed like it would be forever in development but was actually released. And you can even play Pokémon while brushing your teeth with Pokémon Smile. What a crazy world we live in, and mobile games surely have a big slice of the community playing them, but maybe, just maybe, you're more into arcades. The arcade games are mostly exclusive to Japan, with Pokken being the only one to break this curse and being available in the US, as well as breaking through that and becoming an actual game with actual official tournaments. But many were not as lucky, and there are countless examples of different arcade spin-offs out there. We have rhythm games like Dance Pikachu or surf-scrolling games like Pikachu's Great Surfing Adventure. But the real money is in Pokémon Batrio, Pokémon Mesastar, Pokémon Treta, which got a version released for the 3DS in Japan called Pokémon Treta Lab, and Pokémon Ga Ole. There are many others, but I believe this to be the most played. These are arcade games that mix together things like slot machine gambling, Pokémon collecting, and battling, which results in huge amounts of money being thrown into the machines in order to get the best discs or tags or whatever they're called in the game you're playing. They do look like a lot of fun though, and I'm very happy that I'm safe from their allure here in Portugal. I spend a lot on Pokemon cards as it is. But what if you wanted to get your own gaming console out there? Well, if anyone could do it, that's Pokemon. This is the Pokemon Mini, an official very small console, the smallest ever produced by Nintendo, and it's where you'll find everything Pokemon, everything Mini, and some other things. Pokemon Party Mini, Pokemon Pinball Mini, Pichu Bros Mini, Pokemon Breeder Mini, as well as Pokemon Race Mini. On the side of the non-mini things, you have Pokemon Puzzle Collection 1 and 2, Zany Cards, Togepi's Great Adventure, as well as Pokemon Tetris because everything had its Tetris face. I did not mention all of them of course, but I think this clearly shows what a crazy journey Pokemon spin-offs have been through. But what is the most interesting question is, where will they go next? With the recent craze about Palworld, could a Pokemon survival game actually work? And on the topic of guns, could a Pokemon first-person shooter-inspired game work as well, but with Pokemon moves? I think a fast-paced gameplay always has its audience, right? The more I think about it, the more I feel like there's not a lot that they've not done. We don't have a Pokemon MMORPG, but the main games are getting closer to that with every single game they release, and honestly, the time for MMOs is past, sadly. I can only really think about 3 or 4 genres that Pokemon hasn't touched yet. We have platformers and Metroidvanias, which I could see as a pretty cool experience if done right. We have stealth games, which I can't really see working that well, or maybe they can, I don't know. Imagine Don't Wake Up the Snorlax minigame or something. But one I feel could work and be a success is an horror-themed Pokemon game. Sure, it will have to be a bit light-hearted horror, as Pokemon is still a kid's franchise. But with so many dark and ghost-type Pokemon and all of those stories we see in the Pokédex, they could easily build an interesting narrative and environment just focusing on the material they already have. Whatever's the case though, I find it very hard to believe that with such a journey, they would stop right now. And that is all I have for you today. Pokemon spin-offs go from that's fine to that's pretty obscure to that's really crazy pretty fast, but we all have a favorite, right? So what is your favorite Pokemon spin-off game? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content and also ring the bell so you know when the next video is out. Also check out my merch or consider becoming a channel member in order to support me even further. I would be forever thankful for that. You can follow me on social media or catch one of my streams here and on Twitch. I stream every day of the week. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.